Let me ask you something. And I want you to sit with this question. Don't answer it quickly. Let it settle. How long have you been working? 10 years? 20 years? 30 years? And where are you financially right now? Not where you hoped to be, not where you planned to be, not where you told yourself you'd be by this age. I know. Because I've stood in front of thousands of people across this country, and I can tell you, the look on a person's face when they finally admit that truth to themselves is one of the most important moments of their life. Because here is what I've learned after decades of studying why some people build wealth and why most people never do. It is not the economy. It is not your employer. It is not your circumstances. It is not the neighborhood you grew up in. It is something much closer to home than that. And before this talk is finished, I am going to show you exactly what it is. But first, I want to tell you something about myself that most people don't know. I was 25 years old, and I was already behind. I had a job, I had a family, I had responsibilities, and I had nothing in the bank. Nothing. A few dollars, some debt, and a very strong feeling that the life I had imagined for myself was getting further away, not closer. I remember standing in my kitchen one morning, and this is a vivid memory, and I thought to myself, if I keep doing exactly what I'm doing, where will I be in 10 years? And the answer that came back to me was honest, painfully honest. I would be right here, in this same kitchen, with the same empty feeling. That morning changed my life. Not because I suddenly knew what to do, but because I finally admitted what was true. And what was true was this. I had been blaming the wrong things. Now let me tell you about a man I met. This was early in my career, long before I ever spoke on a stage. His name was Earl Shoaff, and he was one of the wealthiest men I had ever encountered. Not just wealthy in money, though he had plenty of that. Wealthy in thinking, wealthy in philosophy, wealthy in the way he understood how life worked. I sat across from him one afternoon, and I said, "Mr. Shoaff, why do some people become wealthy and others don't? What is the real reason?" He leaned back. He looked at me for a long moment, and then he said something I never forgot. He said, "Jim, the reason some people never become wealthy, and I mean never, in a whole lifetime of working, is not what they don't have. It's what they don't know. What they don't know." I wrote that down. I still think about it. And in the next few minutes, I am going to share with you the specific things that most working people, intelligent, hardworking, good people, simply do not know about money, about wealth, about how this all actually works. Stay with me, because what I am about to share will not sound like what you have heard before. Here is the first thing you must understand. Your income is not the problem. I know, you've been told your whole life that if you just earned more, everything would be fine. Get the raise, find the better job, work the overtime, and the money problem will solve itself. Let me show you why that is wrong. I have met people earning $200,000 a year who are broke, genuinely broke, living one missed paycheck away from crisis, stressed, stretched, desperate. And I have met people earning $30,000 a year who are quietly building wealth, steadily, consistently, year after year. What is the difference? The difference is not the income. The difference is the philosophy behind the income. You see, most people think the road to wealth runs through a bigger paycheck. But that road is a circle. You earn more, you spend more, you need more, you earn more, and you end up in the same place, just with bigger numbers. The road to wealth does not run through income. It runs through understanding. And the first understanding, the one that changes everything, is this. Wealth is not what you earn. Wealth is what you keep. Now I know that sounds simple, and you may have heard it before, but hear me say it this way. Most people do not actually believe it. They believe the opposite. They believe wealth is what you earn. And that belief, that single wrong belief, is the wall between where they are and where they want to be. Let me prove it to you with a number. If you take 1 penny, just 1 penny, and you double it every day for 31 days, how much do you have? Most people guess a few $100s. Some guess a few thousand. The answer is $10,700,000. 1 penny. 31 doublings. Now, that is the mathematics of compounding. And compounding is how wealth is actually built. Not through dramatic income. Through consistent keeping and growing of what you already have. But here is the problem. Most people never get to experience compounding because they spend everything, every single month. They earn it, they spend it, and they start again at zero. And you cannot compound zero. This is the first wall, and it is a wall of behavior, not a wall of income. So let me ask you again. How long have you been working? And how much have you kept? Not earned, kept. If your honest answer is very little, then I want you to stay right here, because I am going to tell you exactly why, and the reason is going to surprise you. The reason most people keep very little is not laziness. It is not lack of ambition. It is not bad luck. The reason most people keep very little is that they have never decided to keep anything. Let that sit for a moment. They have never made a firm, serious, non-negotiable decision that a portion of what they earn belongs to their future. Not their bills, not their lifestyle, not their entertainment, their future. I call this paying yourself first, and I have been teaching it for decades. But I want to go deeper than the phrase today, because most people hear pay yourself first and they think, yes, I should save more, and then they don't, because saving feels like sacrifice. Here is the shift. Here is the reframe that makes this work. Paying yourself first is not sacrifice. It is priority. When you pay yourself first, even 10%, even 5% of everything you earn, you are making a declaration. You are saying, my future is more important than my present comfort. And that declaration, made consistently, month after month, year after year, is the foundation of every fortune ever built by an ordinary person. Not inheritance, not luck, not timing. A simple, consistent, non-negotiable decision. But here is what I want you to hear, because this is where most people make the critical mistake. It is not enough to save. Saving alone will not make you wealthy. And I'll tell you why. Right after I explain the second wall that is keeping you from wealth. The second wall is what I call the philosophy of someday. Have you ever said this? Someday I'll get serious about money. Someday when things calm down. Someday when the kids are grown. Someday when I get that promotion. Someday when I have more to work with. Someday. I want to tell you something about someday. Someday is not a day of the week. I have met people in their 50s, good people, hardworking people, who have been planning to get serious about their finances since their 30s. 20 years of someday, 20 years of almost, 20 years of next month. And now they are looking at their retirement years with dread instead of anticipation. This is one of the great tragedies. Not because they lacked talent, not because life was harder for them than for anyone else, but because they kept postponing the most important financial decisions of their lives. Let me tell you about the cost of waiting. Not in philosophy. In mathematics. If you invest $500 a month starting at age 35, with a modest return, by age 65 you have approximately $1 million. If you wait until age 45 to start, same amount, same return, you have approximately $300,000. 10 years of someday cost you $700,000. $700,000. That is the price of someday. Now, you cannot go back. Whatever years have passed, they are gone. And sitting with regret about that will not serve you. But you can start today. You can make the decision today. Not someday, today. And if you are 35, 40, 45, 50 years old right now, let me tell you something important. You still have time. Not as much as you once had, but enough. If you start today. The question is not whether you have time. The question is whether you will use it. And the answer to that question depends entirely on whether you understand the third wall, the one nobody talks about. The third wall is the most dangerous, because it is invisible. It is called lifestyle inflation. Here is how it works. You get a raise, so you get a nicer car. You get promoted, so you get a bigger house. You have a good year, so you take a more expensive holiday. Your income goes up, and your expenses go up to match it, and sometimes to exceed it. This is lifestyle inflation. And it is the silent killer of wealth. I have watched it happen to some of the most talented, highest-earning people I have ever known. Their income kept climbing, and their wealth stayed flat, because every dollar that came in went immediately to a more expensive version of the life they were already living. The philosopher Seneca wrote, and this was 2,000 years ago, but it is as true today as it ever was. It is not the man who has too little who is poor. It is the man who always wants more. Always wants more. That is the cycle. And breaking it requires something that is genuinely difficult in a world that is constantly telling you to spend, to upgrade, to deserve better, to treat yourself. I am not against enjoying your life. Please hear me. I believe in enjoying your life. I believe in beauty and comfort and the good things that hard work can bring. But there is a sequence to this. And most people have the sequence backwards. Most people spend first and save what's left, which is usually nothing. The wealthy save first and spend what's left. Same income. Completely different result. And I want to show you something now that goes even deeper than saving. Because as I said earlier, saving alone will not make you wealthy. And this is the part of the conversation that most financial advice never reaches. Let me tell you about the difference between saving and investing. Saving is keeping money. Investing is growing money. And they are not the same thing. A savings account gives you safety. It gives you peace of mind. It gives you a foundation. And those things are valuable. I am not dismissing them. But a savings account will not make you wealthy. At the interest rates most savings accounts offer, your money is not growing. In real terms, accounting for inflation, your money is shrinking. To build wealth, you must put your money to work. You must invest. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Investing is risky. Investing is complicated. Investing is for people who understand those things. And I don't. I want to address that directly. Because that thinking, that I don't understand it so I won't do it, is one of the most expensive thoughts a person can carry. Here is what I know about investing. After a lifetime of studying wealth, you do not need to be an expert. You need to be consistent. You need to be patient. And you need to start. The greatest investors in history did not succeed because they were smarter than everyone else. They succeeded because they started earlier than everyone else. And they stayed in the game longer than everyone else. Consistency and patience. That is the formula. But here is the cliffhanger. Here is the thing I want you to hear. Even with saving, even with investing, even with consistency and patience, there is still one more wall. And most people never see it coming. Because it is not about money at all. The fourth wall, and I believe this is the most important thing I will say today, is your relationship with your own mind. Let me explain. I have known people who had all the right information. They knew they should save. They knew they should invest. They had read the books. They had attended the seminars. They had sat in rooms like this one. And they still weren't wealthy. Why? Because knowledge without action is just entertainment. And the reason most people don't act, even when they know what to do, is a mindset problem, not an information problem. Specifically, it is this. Most people do not believe, at a deep level, that wealth is truly available to them. They believe it is available to other people, smarter people, luckier people, people born into different circumstances, people with connections, people with advantages they were not given. And so they go through the motions, they save a little, they think about investing, they attend the seminar, and then they go home and continue living exactly as they were before, because somewhere deep down, they don't truly believe the destination is reachable. This is the most heartbreaking wall of all, because it is entirely self-constructed. I want to tell you something directly now, and I want you to hear it the way I mean it. Wealth is not reserved for the exceptional. Wealth is the natural result of specific decisions made consistently, over time, by ordinary people. People who went to work every morning. People who raised families. People who had struggles and setbacks and difficult years. The difference between them and everyone else was not talent. It was not luck. It was not circumstances. It was philosophy. It was understanding. It was the willingness to learn how this works and then actually do the work. And that is available to every single person watching this today. But I want to go one level deeper, because understanding that wealth is available is not enough. You must also understand something about the nature of wealth itself that most people have exactly backwards. Most people think wealth is a destination. They think, when I have $1 million, I will have arrived. When I have the paid-off house, the retirement account, the financial freedom, then I will have made it. But wealth is not a destination. Wealth is a direction. Let me explain what I mean by that. A wealthy person is not defined by how much they have at any single moment. A wealthy person is defined by the direction they are consistently moving. Every month, every year, are they building or are they diminishing? A person with $10,000 who is consistently adding to it, learning, growing, investing, that person is on the road to wealth. They are wealthy in direction. A person with $1 million who is spending more than they earn, who has stopped learning, who has no plan, that person is on the road away from wealth, regardless of what the account says today. direction, not destination. And why does this matter? Because it means that wherever you are today, whatever the number in your account is, you can become wealthy in direction starting right now. Not someday, now. The moment you decide that a portion of everything you earn belongs to your future. The moment you decide to learn about investing. The moment you decide that your financial education is as important as any other education you have ever pursued. That moment, that decision, puts you on the road. And I have one more thing to share with you. Something I have saved for the end of this conversation because it is the most important principle I know, and it is the one that ties everything together. I want to talk about what money actually is. Not in the technical sense, in the philosophical sense. Money is a measure of value exchanged. Read that again. Money is a measure of value exchanged. What that means is this. The amount of money that flows into your life is directly proportional to the amount of value you add to the lives of others. This is not a spiritual concept. This is a practical, observable, verifiable reality. The people who earn the most in this world, the ones who build the most wealth, are the ones who find ways to add extraordinary value to extraordinary numbers of people. A doctor adds value to one patient at a time. An author adds value to 1 million readers at once. A business owner adds value to every customer who walks through the door. The question of wealth, at the deepest level, is not, how do I get more money? The question is, how do I add more value? Now I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, I go to work every day. I add value every day. I work hard. Why doesn't that translate? And here is my answer. 2 parts. First, are you adding value or are you completing tasks? Because those are not the same thing. Completing tasks is what you are paid to do. Adding value is going beyond what you are paid to do. Solving problems nobody asked you to solve. Improving things nobody told you to improve. Thinking about the mission, not just the job. That is the difference between someone who gets a raise and someone who gets a promotion. Between someone who builds a career and someone who builds a business. Second, and this is the final piece, the one that brings everything together. Are you growing? Jim Rohn's most fundamental belief, the one I have carried for my entire adult life, is this. Your income will rarely exceed your personal development. Your income will rarely exceed your personal development. If you want a bigger life, you have to become a bigger person. If you want more from the world, you have to bring more to the world. If you want wealth to come to you, you have to become the kind of person that wealth naturally flows toward. And that process of becoming, of growing, of developing yourself, that is a lifelong process. It never stops. It should never stop. The day you stop growing is the day you start declining. There is no staying the same. Life does not allow it. So let me bring this all together, because I want to leave you with something specific, something you can carry out of here today. The reason you will never be rich, unless you change something, is one or more of these 4 walls. The first wall. You believe wealth is about income rather than philosophy. You are waiting for a bigger paycheck to solve a mindset problem. The second wall. You are living in someday. You know what you should do, and you are waiting for the right moment to do it. The right moment is today. The third wall. Lifestyle inflation is silently consuming every raise you have ever received. Your income grows, your expenses match it, and your wealth stays flat. The fourth wall. Deep down, you do not believe wealth is truly available to you, and so you know, but you do not act. These 4 walls are the real reason. Not the economy, not your employer, not your circumstances. And all 4 of them, every single one, can be addressed, starting today, with a decision. Not a big dramatic gesture, not a complete transformation overnight. A decision. One decision. To take a portion of what you earn, today, this week, this month, and put it somewhere it can grow. To open the book you have been meaning to open. To have the conversation about investing you have been putting off. To take one small, real, concrete step in the direction of the financial life you have been imagining. One step. In the right direction. Today. Because here is what I know about the people who ultimately build the life they want. They are not always the smartest. They are not always the most talented. They do not always have the most advantages or the fewest obstacles. But they share one quality. One thing above all others. They decided. Not someday. Not when things get easier. Not when the circumstances improve. They decided. Today. With what they had. Where they were. And that decision, repeated, reinforced, honored month after month, built something that nobody could take from them. Security, freedom, the ability to choose. That is what wealth actually is. Not a number. The ability to choose. And you can start building it today. Not someday, today.